1. Context is needed. I'm an artist that attends anime cons as a booth owner, aka boother, to sell my art in the form of art prints, keychains, stickers, etc. I also love small animals such as hamsters, rabbits, guinea pigs, etc. And that has led me to do my own research on how to care for them, as I do plan to get one in the future. Now for the story. I was attending another anime con in a mall as a boother, when I have to pick up an important call, so I have to remove myself from the area. As I was speaking on the phone, I saw a pet shop with an open enclosure for rabbits, and that got me excited. Once I ended the call, I waltz into the pet shop with the speed of light and start gushing over the rabbits. I am also surprised to see a chinchilla in the pet shop too, as they are very rare in my country. Then I turned my back to see rows of hamsters in their respective cages, running around, and some were sleeping. I was checking them out when this really exhausted-looking delivery man, I think he got off from his deliveries and had some time to kill in the mall, props to the delivery drivers by the way, came to me to ask me in my native language, "Hey miss, what animal resides in this bottom cage?" "Oh, those are," I say, checking the cage labels, "chinchillas. Apparently they're sleeping at the moment." "Oh, what's a chinchilla?" I point to the open enclosure. "If you look at the cage over there next to the rabbits, that fluffy-looking animal there is a chinchilla." "Oh, what is that bowl with the white powder in the cage?" He points at a bowl of sand bath. "That is because," and then I proceed to explain about chinchilla fur. "Oh, I see. What about these?" He points at the guinea pigs. "These are guinea pigs. They are like cousins to hamsters, but they require a different type of diet and care." Whoa. Then this lady in her 50s approaches me, and I mention about the guinea pigs and how they're different than hamsters.
"Wait, you guys sell guinea pigs too? You sell guinea pig food here?"
Wait, what? As a tired artist, imagine me staring at the lady as I'm trying to find a constellation that looks like a hamster doing taekwondo in my brain circuit. Hang on a minute. I look down at what I'm wearing. Yep, there's my usual black shorts, a white shirt that I got from a concert, and my artist bag, with the lanyard that is almost the same color as a pet shop signage, but is actually an image of an alpaca, and big bold letters saying Artist Alley. I look at the lady, then look at the poor delivery man, and I say, "Oh, I don't work here." I remove my tags and quickly leave the scene. I somehow overheard the lady saying to the delivery man,
"She said that she doesn't work here, but she knows so much about animals."
"I also can't believe that she doesn't work here," said the delivery man. As I went back to the Anime Con venue, I told some of my friends who were boothing there about the incident, and they laughed so hard that one of them cried their eyeliner off their eyes. I also mentioned this incident to my mom, my brother, and my boyfriend. My mom told me that I can try working in the pet shop, or maybe a zoo with my knowledge. I guess I can work at a pet shop now. Two, I had a lot of angry customers this week, and I know it must be partially because of the heat, but good God. Someone got upset because I refused him alcohol. He looked below 40, so I carded him, which is the rules in my country. He just told me his birth year and I told him I needed the card. He got upset and said, "You're seriously gonna make me drive all the way home?" I said yes. Like I'm not gonna get in trouble just because you want to get drunk. I've also had about 3 walkouts this month, and my manager seems pissed at me, but hasn't told me in any way how to do better. One was even not a walkout, but before I noticed he'd already used his card, the old man who was using the self-checkout hit cancel on the payment. I had also just switched over the self-checkout machine onto my till. Multiple times my manager will tell me to do something one way, and I'll follow their lead, then they tell me to do it another way. Today she pushed my arm out of the way when I was trying to do something because she wanted it done the other way first. It hadn't worked yesterday when I tried to put in all the barcode numbers, so I was going to manually put it in. Today, of course, it worked for her, so she looked at me like I was stupid. I also forgot how to use the intercom in a moment of overheated tiredness and hung up in embarrassment, so that sucked. Some lady kicked me, then ignored that she ever did it. It was an accident, but she could have at least said sorry, it hurt. There was also a regular today, a Spanish lady that doesn't speak much English. Better than me, I speak like 6 words in Spanish, but she had a total of $147.87, and she handed me a $100 bill. She said something in half English, half Spanish I didn't understand, so I reiterated what I thought she said. 100 cash, 41.87 card, ma'am? She said yes. I put in the $100 and all hell broke loose. Apparently she'd wanted to do 40 cash from the 100 and pay the rest on card. She was upset that we couldn't change it after I put the 100 in. The lady behind her tried to help, and in turn, when I said I couldn't, she got upset with me. I was mostly silent while scanning her order as my manager and bagger spoke to the lady, who I had messed the money up on. I scanned everything she put up, then saw she had more wine in her cart. So I asked if she had 3. She lost it.
I would have told you that if you were paying attention to me and not talking to the previous customer.
I won't lie, I was floored. I apologized, even though I hadn't spoke to the lady since I apologized to her, and started the next lady's order. I then asked, would you like your wine in paper bags, ma'am? And oops, there she goes again.
Yes, no, why didn't you ask me that?
I just did, but yeah, sure, okay. I am also exhausted over my co-worker's remarks and jokes. I know he's on the spectrum, to which I let a lot of things slide, but he's going too far. He's made not safe for work jokes, made fun of weight. He himself is overweight. He's made multiple racist jokes, made a racist joke about my family's names. I'm white, and he made a racist joke of African Americans that I was very uncomfortable with. And he mocks me as much as he can. Someone calls me on the intercom, he'll loudly announce to me I was called. I tell someone a joke, he makes fun of me. Today I said that my brain was fried since I'd messed up counting and the customer laughed. He asked if that meant I was dead. I said nah, just that I'm being dumb with math. And he just asked it again and again until I ignored him. I've also just said normal things, but if I stumble on my words he makes fun of me. I occasionally get stuck on a word, stumble and stutter and have to pause to almost reboot myself. And if he mishears me, he'll make fun of me as if I said something weird, and laugh at me to my face. I've told my manager he makes me uncomfy, and she just said, he doesn't mean anything by it. Another co-worker of mine is an older man. He's slow at work, stares a lot, and is very helpless. I've helped him with a lot and explained things in great detail for him, since nobody else will, but he stares a lot. He also talks very quietly, so you have to lean in. There was this one time he was facing the break room, and I walked into the bathroom, which was behind him. He was staring at me as I walked past, and when I peeked back, he turned entirely around to watch me walk into the bathroom. I got a really creepy vibe and physically jumped when someone walked into the bathroom, a woman, thankfully. I thought I was being ridiculous, that he probably has mental problems with age and is just processing things slower. I learned today he makes all the women in my store uncomfortable. One of my friends even made a complaint about him. And I top all of that. One of my co-workers is a raging transphobe. Oh, and you guessed right, I am a trans non-binary gay person. I go by they and he, but she and her at work for safety reasons. I don't feel safe and she doesn't help it. Someone who I believe to be trans walked into my lane with makeup and nails. They looked absolutely beautiful, and I told them I loved their makeup. They were shy and thanked me and left. Said awful co-worker doesn't speak English, but I could translate enough with her gesturing to her nails and face and laughing obnoxiously, while saying he. It was awful, and I just ignored her. This same co-worker keeps trying to force me into giving people random discounts, because she wants me to, and it makes the customers try to demand it from me. That's all for now, folks. 3. Names changed for anonymity. Many moons ago, I worked in a department store in the receiving area unloading trucks. I had worked there for many years, and I loved my coworkers. I didn't have any real problems with anyone. However, the store is very badly managed. Schedules are made last minute, and sometimes not enough people are scheduled. Turnover on employees, assistant managers, and store managers was high. For example, I can recall that we had 5 different store managers come and go, and over 20 assistant managers come and go. Because of the high turnover on employees, I saw many receiving area supervisors come and go. At the time, 13 supervisors had gone. Only one supervisor was promoted to store manager at another store in another location. I really liked the one that got promoted because she was very efficient and would do any job to make sure things got done. She would also do things her own way regardless of what current management would say. In the receiving area, boxes are taken off the truck and put on a conveyor belt to the employees where the boxes are stored by the department. Each employee is assigned certain departments and unpacks the boxes, putting the items on carts for that specific department until the cart is full. Employees come into the receiving area and take full carts away. Boxes and packaging materials pile up very fast. My job was to collect the cardboard boxes, break the boxes down, and then put them into the compactor. All other packing materials get thrown into the dumpster. I am the only one doing garbage and cardboard. I am constantly moving and trying to keep with 5 people unpacking boxes constantly. The previous supervisor would help me with this. She did this without any complaint and would say things like a team helps each other always. After she got promoted, we got a new supervisor, formerly an employee like me, but took the job to make things better and for the pay. Mind you, being a receiving supervisor is a very stressful job. Management is always breathing down your neck about everything. They would ask things like when the truck will be finished. How come we're moving so slow? How come boxes are here? How come boxes are there? Why aren't we doing this now? How come we're doing this instead of that? Just nitpicking all the time. The new supervisor, Dick, quickly found this out. He was pretty stressed and didn't handle it well. I tried to advise him by talking about what the previous supervisor did that made that hot mess of a receiving area efficient. He took this as me insulting him and quickly turned against me. For months he would assign me a task and would always tell me how terrible I was at it. He would berate me about my job performance and tell management that I was causing delays, that I wasn't cleaning garbage quickly enough, I was building furniture too slowly, in general being the worst employee ever. One day I was putting cardboard into the compactor and was falling behind. I realized I needed help. I swallowed my pride and asked him for help. The following conversation took place.
I know what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work.
What do you mean it's not going to work?
You want me to do your job.
You helped others with the cardboard. I'm asking for the same help you gave them.
You've been here for 6 years. You shouldn't need help.
Are you saying you won't help me?
I don't want to help you.
After that exchange, I went to the current store manager, Philip. I told him what Dick had said to me and got upset. He told me to come with him, and when he got in the receiving area, he gave Dick a speech about teamwork and how we never say we will not help you. Dick got defensive, but ultimately Philip put his foot down and Dick was forced to apologize, but he was still very angry. The next day I was told by one of the assistant managers that Dick would assist me with cardboard and garbage today. But instead, Dick has the new guy Martin assist me instead of himself. I'm not sure if he asked the assistant manager to switch, or if he made the decision himself. I did witness him disobey the assistant store manager about how far he was supposed to complete the truck. He only did 2.5 pallets instead of the 3 he was told. All day long, Dick makes no attempt to apologize for telling me that he would not help me with the cardboard cleanup the previous day. Fast forward a few days, and I am assigned the task of opening boxes and sorting items. The new guy, Martin, is on garbage duty. I noticed Martin struggling a little, and I asked Dick if I could help Martin. He says Martin doesn't need any help. About 2 minutes later, he says to me,
"What I mean is, Martin is doing fine."
The next day, the garbage situation is still bad and getting worse. Garbage really should be done by 2 people, but Dick won't hear it. I ask Dick if I can help Martin get the cardboard under control. He barks at me in response, no. Later, he assigns another employee to work in my line and allows me to help Martin. I ask Dick if I can help Martin, and he tells me it's not my job to help him. I should focus on my work in a very condescending way. He cursed at me and was angry about me asking to give help to Martin. He called me an effing douchebag. Later, the assistant store manager Bob takes us both out the back of the store to talk to us. Bob starts off the conversation and doesn't get a full sentence in when Dick interrupts him by saying,
"Let me stop you right there."
Dick goes on to say that I'm insubordinate, and his behavior is a direct result of my questions for help. He goes on to say,
"I'm 42 years old, I have kids, and I don't need this level of stress."
Bob tries to tell both of us that we need to find a way to work together and overcome our differences. Dick is resistant to the idea and is very defensive, and at the end, and before our meeting can conclude, he walks away saying,
"If you want to replace me, that's fine. Do whatever you want to. I'm out."
After he leaves Bob and me to continue talking about me and Dick working together as a team, and Bob says he will talk to Jerry one-on-one, alone. Afterward, I and Bob shake hands, and I leave to punch out for the day. The next day I put on cardboard detail. Dick immediately tells me not 5 minutes into my work that I am not allowed to cut down boxes because it interferes with productivity. I asked him if he would give me help when I needed it. He then says to me,
"We're not going to start this again."
He is frustrated and agitated by my question. We talk back and forth with him being frustrated by my question, and I ask him why it bothers him and that I need help. He then leaves the back of the line and goes over to the store manager, Madison, to complain about what had just happened. By the end of the conversation, Dick seems frustrated and says something to her, but I only catch the end of it, him saying,
"I withdraw my position."
At the end of the day, I go to see Madison about Dick's behavior towards me. Her solution to this problem is to have me work on the floor early in the morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. This way I am away from Dick and I still get my hours. Fast forward 2 days. A store employee asks me to help move a piece of glassware for the kitchen. A little later, the store employee asks my help with lifting a box of pots and pans. Then Dick says to the store employee,
"Do you want me to move you to garbage and me over to her area so the store employee can stay in the receiving area?"
The store employee says no, and we continue working. Later, Dick says I always ask his permission to help anyone for any reason. Later in the day, Dick tells Bob that I am pulling boxes from the line instead of letting him do it. Bob comes to me and tells me not to fill my line myself, but to let Dick know if I need him to push boxes for me. He then tells me very rudely that he's going on break and I should be able to do it myself. I'm confused in this situation. I end up doing his and my job. The following day, I'm working with Martin as a team on one line. I always ask Dick when my line is empty for him to push the boxes down the line as per his order. He then becomes frustrated and says to me that because there are 2 people on a line, I should be able to pull my own boxes. I'm confused as to why he is frustrated because I am following his orders to the letter. He continues to berate me for not knowing the difference when to pull boxes myself and when working with another person and when working alone. I ask him for boxes to be pushed on my line. I tell him I am just following his rules as he told them to me. He then tells me they are not his rules but company policy in a very condescending manner. He turns around and walks away, and I continue working. By this time, I have had more than enough. I'm getting angry and frustrated. The harassment is getting worse every minute of every day. I think long and hard of what to do and finally come to my decision. The next, I ask Bob for a copy of the company policy on harassment. He asks me what I need it for, and I say I want to explore my options. A few minutes went by, and then he called me into the office to talk. He asked me if I was discriminated against for my race, gender, sexual orientation, or age. He then asks me what is considered to be harassment from Dick. I tell him that Dick is acting unprofessionally in the back room, and I feel that it is unbecoming of a leader and his behavior is unacceptable. He tries to defend Dick by saying that Dick gives criticism to those who need to be told more than once to do something, and to those who are underperforming. He tells me not to take Dick too seriously, and he doesn't consider what Dick is doing harassment. He also tells me that I am just holding a grudge against Dick, calling me a douchebag. In other words, typical deflection from corporations. Madison calls me into the office to discuss my situation with Dick. She asks if everything is okay, and I tell her that it is. She is concerned for me because she knows I asked for the company's harassment policy. She asks if there have been any recent developments that she should know about. I told her that he wanted me not to pull boxes from the main conveyor belt onto my conveyor belt. I tell her that I followed this rule, and then at the end of the day I ask Dick to push the furniture to me, and Dick responds by saying that I should learn to pull the boxes by myself since he is going on break. I'm confused by this because I'm just following his rule, and he wants me not to break it. I also tell her about the day Martin and me were processing together, and how Dick tells me that I can pull my own boxes because since there are two of us and I'm closer to the belt, I can do it myself. I explain how I'm confused by these changes of his rules because they are not consistent, and he seems to only be doing them just to provoke me. She tells me not to take his dealings with me personally, and he is under a lot of stress for his job. I tell her that since asking for the company's harassment policy, Dick has backed off and has not done anything to provoke me or harass me. I told her that this was partly the intent in asking for the policy because I wanted to make it clear that his behavior is unacceptable. Also, tell her that I wanted to keep my options open and that I'm looking into the matter. I pull boxes from the main conveyor belt. Dick says to me,
"Do me a favor and worry about your line, and I'll worry about this line. Just stay over there."
I do as he asks, and when my line has a large gap in it, I ask him to push boxes towards me. He then says to me,
"You're supposed to pull your own shit. I don't push it for you. I don't understand why you can't fucking get that."
I sigh and say I thought we settled this. I wasn't at the store myself to witness any of this, but I heard about this secondhand. Dick got into some kind of argument with Martin, and they both started shouting at each other, which ended in Bob firing Dick on the spot. Corporate considered this to be a very mishandled situation, and ended up firing Bob and Martin as well. I stayed at that store for a little while longer. Between the harassment from Dick and many other issues, I finally had enough. I ended up leaving for much better opportunities. I love my new job now, and it's definitely better than what I used to have. My time in retail taught me a lot. I don't resent any of my fellow co-workers. As a matter of fact, they all stood up for me at some point. I still keep in touch with many of them, but I haven't heard anything from Dick since the day he left. 4. So I'm a meat department manager at one of the grocery chains. As such, I have a right-hand man, or second, that effectively is supposed to be me when I'm not there. When he was hired, he stressed he needed every other weekend off, because he has his kid on the weekend every other week. So we've worked with him, and he's had every other weekend off for the last 3 months. In fact, one further, I've scheduled him with every weekend off pretty much. This way, there is no confusion on if he has his kid this week or next, etc. Also, because every time I scheduled him on the weekends he was supposed to be free, he's been sick, or has to go out of town that weekend, or etc. Now, mind you, as my second, he's supposed to be the strongest associate in the department, other than myself. I originally would schedule him to work 2 morning shifts when I'm not there, but he struggles to do the following: break down trucks, do markdowns, pull dates, doesn't do truck orders or order reviews, doesn't check inventory levels, wasn't scanning out his own shrink up until a week ago, says he didn't know how to log in the info, even when it's written down on a board. Doesn't fill the cases at all, and in his 90-day probation period he had 3 no-call no-shows, and a total of 6 absences and 5 instances where he was an hour late for his shift. Closing at night, he doesn't condition, clean out the sinks, leaving meat inside the sink, aka Ecolab violation, sweep or clean floors at night, doesn't fill areas unless explicitly asked. I had to leave notes every day. Doesn't fill up milk and eggs before leaving at night on the days we don't have a dairy associate. And all he wants to do is cut steaks and do hamburger grinds. The latter he does an absurd amount of large pack grinds for product not even on sale, resulting in shrink. And on his steaks he's throwing out so much that our shrink in that category is out of control unless I personally cut them. I've written him up, I've coached him, I've stressed the importance of stuff, and he's shown no improvement at all. However, the store manager keeps giving the guy a chance because his dad shops at our store, and she's too nice of a person. We had the chance to fire him when he had 3 no-call no-shows consecutively, but he got a pass on that too. Then, about 2 months ago, he springs up on me. he can't work past 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays because he's got his kid then too. So that's 4 days, out of 7 mind you, that you have availability issues. And I try to accommodate that for this guy as well. But with business in mind, he doesn't do his stuff he has to in the mornings, and it's falling all in my part-time guy, who has to finish the full-timer's job and his own before going home, which is totally unfair to that associate. Last Thursday, a kosher truck that we get from a vendor was left in my cooler all day on Thursday. I take Thursdays off. And I come in on Friday, and it's still back there. Well, guess what? There was frozen on that pallet as well. So all of that freight has to be tossed because my second didn't want to break down the pallet. The day before I left clear instructions that the kosher truck needed to be separated and broken down. If not, there would be consequences. And in my opinion, the associate didn't break it down out of spite. So, we had easily $500 of shrink against Frozen's accrual of the upcoming inventory. We were going to write him up for this, but if we did that, we'd have to write up the part-timer who's never had a write-up in his 4 years of working there. All because Bozo doesn't want to do his job. So trying to rectify this situation, seeing as apparently we don't want to terminate him, I revised my scheduling patterns. His closes aren't too bad, at least compared to his opening, so I started scheduling him 3 nights a week to close the department, but was going to shift him to closing 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all the same shift. I have my part-timer open up the department on my days off, because he can be trusted to do what he has to do. Now I'm thinking I finally found a way to make this work. Remember, the guy can't work Tuesdays and Thursday nights because of having his kid. But when he was hired, his only stipulation for working was he needed every other weekend off. I can't afford to schedule him to open on Tuesday and Thursday. He can't work weekends. But as a full-time associate, he's guaranteed 30 hours. I'm already beyond my level of charity at this point. Because this man shouldn't even have a job as far as I'm concerned. He's been given the world and still manages to mess it up. So guess what happens last Friday? He leaves a note on our communication board saying he can no longer work any day past 4 p.m. moving forward as of the 11th of this month. So, let me get this straight. You need to have every other weekend off, and you can't work past 4 p.m. any day. So you're supposed to work 6 to 3s Monday to Friday, where you don't do any of the morning responsibilities or truck orders. The dude can't break down a 30-piece truck by himself. Now, I know a lot of you aren't going to approve of this post because apparently a lot of you think it's acceptable for full-time associates to have limited availability. However, I want to generally know how the hell you'd address or fix this issue by working with the associate, when all I've done is try to be understanding. I want to treat my people well, but I also need them to do their jobs and to show up. I would later talk with the associate about how these new restraints won't work, that he claims he only complained about when I scheduled him for 5 days closing, which is a lie. I was told by management their hands were tied. I was going to schedule him only for 8 hours one shift, so my part-timer could get 2 days off, and I'd have to work 7 to ensure business functioned as it should. Only to be told he must be scheduled 30 hours. So I effectively put in my 2 weeks today. I hope keeping a problem was worth all the effort and headache that's coming their way. I refuse to tolerate and deal with it any further. 5. Battle of Sunday, July 23rd. The sun sets off on the bloody trenches of the dollar store one weekend. In the past, my store seemed to enjoy calm Sundays. Tragically, though, after our competitor closed down, we've been getting their customers as well, so traffic through the store doubled. While corporate delights in this, I'm sure it leads to a stressful environment for us, where we are constantly getting hammered. Case in point, this fateful weekend, I was holding the line at the register and I hear a customer call, "Excuse me," in an especially nasally voice from somewhere in the store. Given that I have 2 co-workers in the store who are stocking and not holding the line on the register like me, I kind of assume they'll hear this and help this customer out. However, you probably know what they say about assumptions. After a brief lull in the action, and I'm still hearing the person calling, I leave the safety of the register and journey into no man's land, the Isles, to aid this customer. It's a middle-aged woman in the summer aisle looking for sandals. She immediately says we have a terrible selection of footwear. Technically true. She's in our summer aisle, which, as the name implies, has miscellaneous summer items. Since it's seasonal, it never really gets restocked like our normal goods, so when the stuff is gone, it's gone. Anyways, this lady is saying her size is all gone, and she's very frustrated. I express my sympathies, but explain this aisle is not restocked due to it being seasonal, and we don't really specialize in footwear. She claims she walked here and she really needs new footwear. I glance at her feet and see sandals. Granted, the sandals do look worn but not falling apart. I once again express my sympathies and ask if there's anything close to her size that she'd like instead if she really needs them. She agreed on a larger size but says they should be free. I say no. She insists she needs them. I see a customer at the register and I politely again tell her no free items and excuse myself to assist the customer at the register. After a while, the lady approaches the register with a pair of sandals. She asks, "Can I have an application? I'd like to work here because, no offense, I feel like I could help customers better than you." I must have been unable to suppress a frown because she immediately said, "Oh, sorry," in the most insincere manner ever, which is how she addressed me throughout the whole interaction. Needless to say, she won't be working here as we don't enjoy working with asshats. We already deal with enough of them every shift. Additionally, I'd love to know how she expects to assist customers better than me when the item she wanted wasn't even in the store. Does she expect employees to manifest the items she needs out of pure willpower or something? Anyway, farewell. Back to the trenches I go. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 176. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, I'd appreciate it if you liked that click button, just looked at it and went, that's a pretty good button, then went about your day. Also, if you'd like to get the videos a little bit earlier, a few days to a week depending on the video, you can support me on Patreon for as little or as much as you like a month. I'm not saying you have to donate billions, because I don't think they let you do that on Patreon, but as little or as much as you prefer a month. It helps. Well, it doesn't keep the wolves from the door. They do stop by for a visit occasionally. Good conversationalists, the wolves, but it does stop them eating me. You'll find a link to that in the description, along with the Hellfreezer merchandise store. There's also a Discord if you'd like to join that. Good times in chat sometimes. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's busy, but it's a good bunch of people. Well, it's people from this community, so of course it's a good bunch of people. And, oh yes, you can also make donations during streams, or videos like this one, if you wish to do so. Please don't ever feel obligated to, but I do appreciate it if you do. Thank you kindly. Alrighty, let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: how little pastry do you need to have on top of a pie before it is just a tart? In the dessert sense, not the good time having kind of sense. Now, quite frankly, I like my pies fully covered, but I'm a traditionalist. I also like them filled with apple, sometimes rhubarb, occasionally cherry. I also thought of another one, but I'll save that for the next video. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.